All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you to Marcia and your team here at the Rosenzweig branch for moving things around to welcome me and my team here today, and the superintendent as well. As many of you know, this is my old stomping grounds. I was a Boys and Girls Club kid growing up. I grew up just down the street here, and my mom or dad would drop me off at this club at 8 a.m. and they'd pick me up at 5 p.m. and I had so much fun at this club, playing foosball, ping pong, arts activities, basketball all day and night, good nutritious meals for the Stanton family and the Stanton kids. Boys and Girls Club were an essential part of our upbringing. Although the club looks a lot different these days, a lot better. You've upgraded since I hung out here back in the day. But I am a proud Boys Club kid. Every day, these clubs provide safe, supportive environment where young people can learn and grow, and the results speak for themselves. 97% of club teens graduate from high school. Club members are much more likely to be involved in their community and volunteering or avoiding risky behaviors. In fact, every dollar invested in Boys and Girls Club pays out nearly $10 in lifetime benefits to youth, families, and our society. That's a lifetime of higher wages and contributions to community. But this incredible institution in our community faces uncertainty right now. Sadly and tragically, the Trump administration has frozen more than $118 million in federal education funding for the state of Arizona, including and especially funding for out-of-school time, extra after-school programs, summer programs, like they provide right here at the Boys and Girls Club. Arizona schools are especially vulnerable because we start our school year sooner than most other states. I'm a parent. My daughter goes to high school nearby here. We start the school year in just a few weeks. Our districts have already adopted budgets that included congressionally appropriated funding, including for after-school programs like they provide here at the Boys and Girls Club. Caught up in the funding freeze is more than $25 million in funding for 21st century community learning centers in our state. These funds provide academic enrichment opportunities like literacy and other educational services during non-school hours, like over the summer, right where we are right now. Incredibly important programs for students and families, particularly those in underserved communities. Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley, they rely on these funds to continue serving more than 2,000 kids in this upcoming school year. 10 club sites and funding for more than 60 staff are at risk. And thousands of children could lose access to summer camps, academic support, and after-school care. Trump's assault on public education isn't going unchallenged. Senator Kelly and I have demanded the immediate release of these funds committed to education and summer and after-school programs for our students and families in Arizona. Our schools and families cannot be left in limbo. So I'll continue fighting for the restoration of these vital funds, and I demand the Trump administration listen to parents, legislators, educators, community leaders, and release these much-needed funds right away. Because what goes on in the summer programs, what goes on in after-school programs, is equally important for a child's growth and development. They learn leadership. They learn teamwork. They get to learn from and interact with kids from all different backgrounds. That's what we need for a strong society. So what happens in these clubs, what happens in after-school programs, is essential for education in the state of Arizona. Just like the kids here, I grew up learning in this space, and it deserves to be protected for future generations. I'll now hand it over to Marcia Benz, who runs all of the Boys and Girls Club programs in our community. The Boys and Girls Club is the gold standard. They are the best at what they do in providing quality out-of-school time for kids. I've been a long time, obviously. I grew up as a Boys Club kid. I've continued to support them in my time in public life at the City of Phoenix and now in Congress, because they are deserving of our support, and they are not deserving to be put at risk because of this funding freeze. Marcia.
Thank you, Congressman. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate Congressman Stanton for standing here with us today. I am Marcia Mintz. I am the CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley. I'm so honored to lead this organization. We are the state's largest provider of after-school care, and each year we serve more than 15,000 children and teens across 30 sites in our state. Our mission is really very simple. We provide safe spaces and caring mentors and then life-changing opportunities for the youth who need us most. But this mission is currently under threat. Just days ago, the U.S. Department of Education made the unprecedented decision to delay the release of 21st century funds. These are federal dollars that were already approved and designated for high poverty schools and communities across Arizona. At Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley, that funding directly supports 6 of our club sites, and 4 more are slated for the new year that we have planned in this district and others that need us most. Without these dollars, we face a potential $1.3 million budget shortfall. But this is not a dollar problem. This is not a budget problem. This is a people problem. This is thousands of kids that would not have access to services. They would lose a safe place after school. This is working parents who rely on us to have that place for them to continue their jobs and not worry about their kids after school. These are kids who would go without tutoring, without mentoring, without meals every day after school, and get the academic support, the learning, the enrichment support that they not only need but truly deserve. And it's not just us. This delay is affecting dozens of Arizona providers like us who have already hired staff and made commitment and are enrolling students in the school year. Without that clarity and the cash flow that we need, we're expected to launch programs and just hope that it comes through, and that is really unrealistic for organizations like ours who rely on philanthropy and public support. I want to be clear that these aren't just enrichment programs. These are essential infrastructure life skill programs. They allow parents to work. They help students thrive and be successful, whether it's catching up on their learning loss, whether it's really learning a new school that helps them be productive, boost their confidence, and really make it not just today in school, but in life. And I think Arizona families and our kids should not be caught in the middle of any bureaucratic delays that would delay this funding. So we are so grateful to have Congressman Stanton, who understands our urgency, and we're calling on all federal and state partners to act swiftly to please release the funds that were already promised, because our Arizona kids are ready to learn. We go back to school in 2 weeks, and let's make sure they have a safe place to learn and thrive after school. Thank you so much, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Mays from the Alhambra School District.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mintz. Good morning, and thank you all for being here. My name is Ceci Myers, and I'm the superintendent in the Alhambra School District. I'm here today on behalf of my students and families in Alhambra, and specifically those that are at the Choice Learning Academy, who now face the possibility of losing access to a critical after-school programming that the Rosenzweig Club was going to provide. As many of you know, the Rosenzweig Boys and Girls Club was scheduled to receive the 21st Century Community Learning Center funding for the first time on July 1st. The funding was set to make a significant difference for our students, providing enrichment learning opportunities after school. These programs go far beyond tutoring. They offer a safe, structured environment for learning and for growth, which is especially important in neighborhoods like ours where there is high crime, limited access to parks and recreational spaces. With this support, students would have access to an academic enrichment opportunities, meals, mentoring, STEM and arts activities, and after-school clubs, all at no cost to our families. Without the support, many of our students could miss meaningful opportunities that enhance their learning, build their confidence, and help them thrive in and out of the classroom. While the club will remain open, the specialized no-cost 21st century programming that's critical for our families that provided so much hope may not be possible. And the uncertainty is what's concerning right now, as our working families need to be able to plan for what their children will be doing after school. We are incredibly grateful to the Rosenzweig Club, Boys and Girls Club, and their continued partnership as we work together to explore every possible solution. Our shared commitment to students remains strong, and we are doing everything we can to ensure that they continue to have access to safe and enriching spaces after school. To our families, We support you, and we are working on your behalf to ensure that our students have this opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive both during and beyond the school day. We advocate for you on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Myers and Marcia, for being here and making this important point. Open up to any questions you may have. Yes.
Congressman, can you say a bit about the legislative process from here? My understanding is Donald Trump is using his impoundment powers. That might go back to Congress for approval. I mean, what's the process from here, and do you think your colleagues would eventually support cuts to these education?
Okay, fair question. Look, the immediate process from here is to demand this administration release these critical funds just as Congress voted on and intended them to do. So do the right thing. The deadline that was supposed to be released on July 1st, release them today immediately. And the reason is this. Congress voted on these funds. We put them in appropriations bills specifically for this purpose, for supporting these learning centers like right here at this Boys and Girls Club in the heart of our city. The President of the United States signed that bill. Under our system of government, that is not an optional thing for the President to decide whether or not, at his whim, whether he wants to spend that money. Under our system of government, when Congress has voted on something, the President has signed it, that is law. You have to spend it for that purpose. So it's my belief that the withholding of the funds is illegal, and what's called an illegal impoundment. If the President of the United States, when his administration, want to no longer fund 21st century learning centers like it here, come to Congress, make your case. But you know what happened? You'll fail. Because Democrats and Republicans understand how important out-of-school time is, and quality out-of-school time, to enhance learning. It's a different type of learning than in a structured environment and classroom, but the learning that goes on here at this club, in the after-school programs on the Alhambra sites, is equally as important in the development of that child. He will lose because Congress, in a bipartisan way, supports these programs. So it's completely inappropriate for these children learning, but it's also illegal under our system of government to impound funds that have been voted on by Congress and signed into law by the President.
And with those funds being impounded, what are your greatest fears of what might happen? Do you fear that these funds might be misused, maybe just be nullified, that they might be taken for some other reason?
Yes, I'm very concerned about all of those things. Look, these funds were voted on by Congress. We represent the people. In a bipartisan way, they were voted on. The President signed the bill. Now, it was the previous president, but the new president doesn't have the right to undo a law of the United States of America. So if he wants to change the program, if he doesn't like the program, come to Congress, make your case, and we can make that decision in next year's budget. But as for the funds that were required to be released July 1st, they need to be funded immediately. And by the way, I mean, this is part of a larger issue. We're aware that this administration over and over again believes that they unilaterally can choose not to spend congressionally appropriated funds. And each and every time that gets challenged in court, they lose. But it's really, in this case, the kids who lose, because they have a few more weeks right now to engage in this learning process. Taking it to court, the time it would take is, maybe an interesting legal battle, but for these kids in their lives, it's a lost opportunity that they can never get back. Any other questions? Anyone want to follow that?
How soon can we feel the pinch from the impounded funds? How soon will the impounded...
Right now we're feeling it. These funds are supposed to be released. These kids that are in the back here and at other clubs and other school after-school books, it's not just Boys and Girls. We're here because this is my club, so I love it. So I wanted to highlight the Boys and Girls Club. But there are other great nonprofits that are providing these after-school programs. By the way, the $118 million is not just for 21st century learning. It's also for teacher training programs, English language learning programs in our public schools. These are public dollars for public schools that districts have relied upon for their upcoming budgets. In Mesa, which is in my district, over $4 million. That is not a small chunk of change. That's serious money that they are planning for in just the next few weeks. So the impact is not some future impact. The negative impact is right now. These programs, they were planning on providing these services today, right now, and these kids are missing out on it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm wondering for the educators, can you provide some guidance for our readers, our viewers who are parents, families, wondering concretely when the rubber's really going to meet the road, when are they going to have to start, maybe changing their work routines, when our program's going to start going the way? I mean, do you have any time estimate, days, weeks, months, as to when the cuts are really going to be felt on the ground here?
I can say for us, we're in 32 sites across the state, so depending on when the school district starts is as soon as families can feel those cuts. In the East Valley and some of Congressman Stanton's districts, they start school in 2 weeks. So big decisions have to be made by organizations like ours and school districts on how they're going to address parent concerns. And I know parents have reached out to us, parents have reached out to school districts because they're going to need to make those plans. I encourage parents especially to start advocating, call their elected officials, demand that they support this and the release of funds so we will not have a disruption in service. Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley is doing everything possible right now to ensure that there is no disruption in service, but that can only go for a limited amount of time until we find some certainty in the budget.
Could I get your name and your spelling, please?
Sure. My name is Marcia Mintz, MarciaMintz.
And I would just add to that, as she said, it's the uncertainty that's concerning. So as Boys and Girls Club being a partner for us, as we want to market this program, make sure that our families, specifically the working families, know this is available. But if they're uncertain, and so then we're uncertain, it creates a lot of confusion. And I liken it to even for those that think, well, the funding should come. Well, I want us all, as all of us depend on our employer. For those that are working, we have an employer who pays us, and so consider if you're waiting on your paycheck, and your employer and your paycheck's already due. So again, July 1st, you should have been paid for work, so you're expecting that payment, but they say just wait, keep working, it's coming, keep working, and so consider that. So we're supposed to keep planning. But again, July 1st was that deadline, and now there's just such uncertainty. So how can we plan? Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question. How those kids stay so still back there? You're amazing. I would have been moving all around. Good job.
Good job, you guys.
All right. Have a great summer. Good luck in school this year.